Hello and welcome back to our Carrier Product Update series. I'm Jason Powers with Legacy Brokers, and today I'm joined by the Regional Sales Director here at Aetna, Darryl Robinson. Darryl, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the series.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to have Aetna a part of the series this go around. It's your first time on the show, I think, to say the official.
And I'm
officially
excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Again, appreciate the invite.
Super sharp shirt. I think I told you at the front hour. Yeah. Love the purple. Being a K-State guy, I love the color purple.
That's
so
right. That's our color. Aetna.
If nothing else, if you can just write down that Jason needs a purple Aetna
Yeah.
shirt, it would be awesome.
I will take those notes back.
It would be awesome. Well, Aetna is a huge player in our market. Here at Legacy Brokers, the markets that we serve, the agents that we talk to across the board, it's a product that serves their customers. And so we appreciate the partnership that we've developed over the last 7-8 years with Aetna.
Absolutely.
And it's been exciting to see the changes in the evolution of the Aetna program, the AFA program in particular.
Yes.
And you were telling me kind of before we got started here, and we were kind of joking around a little bit about it,
Yeah,
that
a little bit.
it may have changed over the last 7-8 years. It's not the same
It is
program.
not the same program. No, Aetna Funding Advantage has developed and matured quite a bit.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and would you say that comes more from market feedback, or is it the CVS acquisition over the last couple of years? What's really been the driving force there?
I would say our product development is squarely comes from market feedback. We certainly have spent a lot of time trying to listen to our producer partners, our distribution channel partners, and develop a product and a process. More importantly, in some respects, that is easy to engage with.
Yeah, I'd say from our perspective, as a general agency serving, I think we're in 14, 15 different markets now. What we see is the product is changed in order to really serve some of the smaller groups.
Sure.
We started
Absolutely.
off in the larger segment, kind of scaled down, and I think even in our most recent batch of quotes, we're seeing a lot of Aetna proposals down to 2 employees in most markets now.
Absolutely. We were certainly the first carrier of our size to offer Aetna Funding Advantage or a level funded product down to 2 enrolled lives. And so we're very happy with the results we've obtained from that. I think now here in my market, in my local market here in the Kansas City area, we ask for health statements for any groups that are under 25 enrolled.
Yeah.
A lot of our competitors are doing different things with the curve methodology, what used to be known as GRX and
Sure.
what have you. But we're focusing a lot on those size groups that require health statements. That business is simply running more stable, been more successful, and we can offer a much more aggressive rate. So there's a clear reward for taking the time to fill out the health statements, unquestionably.
I've always been a proponent and a fan of individual statements of health, going through the individual underwriting process. I know the feedback that we get from some agents is, hey, we want to try to avoid doing statements of health.
It's easy. It's
easier.
It's too much work.
Give you census data and you can give us rates. But I like the position that you're in because it helps us with the stability of the renewals, right? There's not any surprises that come up after we go through.
That's the real key, is you eliminate some of that volatility that could come from so many things that are unexpected or things that aren't even identified adequately through those other underwriting methods.
Yeah, a lot of stuff gets missed,
Things get missed.
not that people forget to put things on their app, but at least at that point we've got a documentation and we've asked them up front. So.
Yeah.
Over 25, is there a different underwriting methodology? Are you allowing?
With 25 enrolled, we will use the curve methodology, the census quoting. Now, if the contract is currently level funded, we can still use curve even down to say 10 or 15 enrolled because we get claims data,
Sure.
right? So every level funded carrier offers some form of claims reporting.
Yeah.
And with that claims data, we can have a little more accurate view. So if the contract is currently level funded and we're quoting it, that option is still there. Now, I still say the best rate available is always going to be attained by using health statements.
Yeah.
So the most aggressive rate, the best cost savings is by using health statements, but the other methodology is available. And then when it's fully insured or a group coming out of a professional employer organization, a PEO type of situation, those are the situations where we're looking for health statements straight away if the group is under 25 enrolled.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A lot of sense. And we do see some of those cases peel off of PEOs, and they're looking at level funded options. I'd say primarily because under 50, the fully insured market. It's just it's there as a good backstop for these groups.
It absolutely is.
But it's certainly not the go-to, I think, for employers that are looking to build some sort of financial strategy over time. If they're working with the right consultant that understands how to present all that stuff, they're looking at each of the provisions inside the Aetna excess loss contract. What does that look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know with Aetna AFA, the individual stop losses, we got to do a flat 30,000.
Yes.
Then they do. What do you do on the surplus or the run out, and then how does the surplus work?
So just in terms of claims funding, so the individual stop loss is a flat 30,000 on our Aetna Funding Advantage product, and then on the aggregate, it does vary by state, but here in the local market is 20% corridor on the aggregate. Then on the run out, I think hands down we offer the best contract in the business. We offer a 48-month run out, and I think what's particularly key about that is our 48 months stands even if the employer were to term off cycle. You really have to read the contract because a lot of competition out there will say, yeah, well, we're 12 months, 18 months, 36 months even. But if you terminate off cycle, you're done. There's really almost nothing if you term off cycle. And so you really need to understand that kind of terminal reserve outlook when you're advising your employer clients.
Yeah, that's all those things that don't show up on the spreadsheet.
Precisely.
Yeah, we actually have a class where we talk about going through and how to analyze self-funded quotes, and if you look at most of the spreadsheets in the marketplace, it's all rate driven, and when we
all day every day,
we try to make sure that our consultants out there know there's a lot more to these self-funded contracts because every level funded plan is a self-funded contract. It's just it's got provisions and protections in place to make it level funded, but at its core, it's just a self-funded plan.
Absolutely.
And we do enjoy the run out provision in the Aetna contract. Now the surplus with Aetna, though, they don't have to wait that 48 months.
No, the surplus is usually redeposited in the account we use to withdraw their monthly costs. We usually redeposit the surplus into that same account. And we're not tax advisors, we're not a risk advisor, so in terms of how that money gets used, that's a question for the employer and their consultants, but we just simply redeposit the funds. The surplus is typically calculated within about 45 days or so after the renewal. So sometime within that first 45, sometimes it could be up to 60 days, they'll get that. Upon renewal, they'll get that 50% surplus returned to them. As far as surplus, the Aetna brand is far and away, I don't think there'd be any question about the fact that we have the largest percentage of our eligible renewing customers that are eligible for surplus. We are 53%.
Wow.
As of last month. We've always been, we started off the best, frankly. We started off over 40, but now we've grown that to over 50%. And that's why, in looking at things, that's why coming into 2021, we were able to offer the guaranteed surplus because we had such a large proportion of our business that was surplus eligible. And as we know, that's not the driving force in
Sure.
terms of marketing a level funded plan. But I think what it speaks to is a fairness in how Aetna funds the claims, right? Um, so many level funded contracts out there, they kind of build a lot into the admin, and
Yep.
it really effectively winds up acting more like a fully insured plan because you're paying much
yeah.
more on the admin, which is your stop loss premium cost, rather than a more fair reflection of what the actual aggregate claims costs are going to be. And so you're looking at 20% of eligible group surplus being surplus eligible.
Yeah.
So when we're offering surplus at the over 50% mark, we believe that methodology is a more fair reflection that we are rating the claims, the aggregate claims funding accurately, if you will. And our average across the enterprise, I'm speaking nationally here, our surplus is almost $8,700
Wow.
per year for the eligible groups. And so that's pretty, I think that's pretty impressive. I think that's something that needs to be discussed. Again, it's not the driving force for selling a Aetna Funding Advantage or a level funded contract, but it certainly is something that ought to be presented and discussed, because when you talk about then offsetting future costs vis-a-vis that surplus return,
Yeah.
I think that's a great benefit.
Well, I think you're right. I think that in terms of other carrier model level funded products that are out there, and I kind of categorize Aetna in that model just because it's one ecosystem.
Sure.
It's not a
absolutely.
bunch of other independent contracted companies that we've bundled together to
Correct.
create
Yeah.
a level funded product.
Yeah, that's right.
So in that carrier level or carrier model level funded product, I think we see that in our Aetna book of business versus some of the other carrier models, and it's for that same reason. It's the fixed cost.
Yeah.
The ratio of the fixed cost versus the total max liability is not in a 77% heavy on the fixed cost with not
That's
very
right.
much going in the claims fund. I think part of that may be just spec levels and
Sure.
admin fees, but a
Absolutely.
big part of that I think is just giving proper weight to the aggregate claims
And
liability.
I think generally speaking, that's exactly what we conclude as well.
And now 50% is an option in the surplus return.
Yes, 50% is standard.
Okay.
There is an option to buy up to a 100% surplus return.
Okay.
Typically, that would cause the total cost to increase by as much as little as 8%, but it can be as much as 12. So I like to just use a nice 10% round number.
Sure. Kind of probably depends on demographics, plan design,
absolutely,
maybe the comp
Yeah.
structure that's quoted. A lot of things might have an impact.
Bring us a nice excavation company with a bunch of young guys. I think that's a good bet for buying up to a 100% surplus return.
Probably. Not the nursing homes or the
probably not
or the
the
hotels
nursing homes
or the restaurants, right?
That's right.
What speaking of industry, is there any industry restrictions? I know we can't do non-ERISA. Is there any other restrictions
we can't do
there?
non-ERISA. There are some other excluded SIC codes. There's certainly not a single exhaustive list.
Okay.
We do have a few examples in our underwriting guidelines, but again, it's not. I wouldn't call it extensive, but yes, there are clearly some other examples where we would exclude certain industries. One of the areas where we are stepping into cautiously, for example, would be those business entities in the flowering industry or the cannabis industry.
Yep.
So Aetna is stepping into that industry rather cautiously, I should say.
Sure.
So that's one example.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more requests come in that are in that industry for sure.
So for now, we only have 12 states approved for cannabis industries, even though there's 38 states, I think, that have approved use of cannabis at some level.
Yeah.
We kind of march through year after year. Our legal and compliance team performs a review, and we kind of continue to build that list.
Sure. Any particular industries you see as I think we talk to our consultants about, look, even if it's not excluded,
Yeah.
some of these industries just aren't the right makeup for a self-funded or a level-funded product. Particularly those with high turnover.
I was just about to say high turnover would be a red flag for advising a business to use a level funded product. Yeah.
Just too much unknown that
There's
comes
just too
in
many,
on the front, on the
yeah,
back door
absolutely.
after the quote's underwritten. You hire 10 new people in the next
That's
quarter,
right.
and all of a sudden you get
That's
a totally
right.
different group.
That would be the leading red flag.
Yeah.
Is a business with high turnover.
Yeah. But any industry that you guys are seeing, I know what we see here, and it's a spread of everything. But I mean, anything that you're seeing that may be more successful, in general, like manufacturing. You mentioned an excavating
manufacturing,
firm,
architecture.
construction.
We do great with professional sort of STEM industries, if you will.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we do quite well there
Okay.
as well. So
Good.
from construction to the STEM businesses, we do pretty well.
Good.
I think everyone has challenges with different and various medical type offices.
Yeah.
It can vary. Say a dentist's office, in some respects, can perform well, but they tend to not perform on the whole. They tend to perform a little lower than the norm, if you will. What other industries? I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but
More that blue collar, gray collar,
Yeah.
that kind of industry. That's been a constant theme, I think, even
Absolutely.
when I got
yeah,
started, in,
That's
20,
right.
22 years ago.
That's right.
That was really the drumbeat, was look for groups that have low turnover, that have
That's right.
more of a professional feel,
Hmm.
employees that are probably around for the long haul.
That's right.
Gives you more credibility in your claims experience as a group overall. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
But construction is great for us as well. But
yeah,
that's driven mostly because it's the male population.
yeah.
On the younger end, at least,
Sure.
the male population tends to
Sure.
be so much more stable.
We
so.
don't take care of ourselves when we get older.
Yeah.
We decide we're going to play,
Yeah.
recreational baseball and have
That's right.
shoulder surgery
There you go.
shortly thereafter. Speaking
Indeed.
from experience.
There you go.
Well, I want to shift into networks, and I know a lot of our consultants out there are familiar with the Kansas City market and what Aetna has done overall to build out specific networks along in our region and along sort of the I-35 corridor, but on a more across the board global Aetna. I think you called it the enterprise. Right?
Yeah,
the
the
CVS
enterprise. The enterprise.
What is it that you're seeing? Because product names are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
In the pre-show we talked about Aetna Whole Health and
Yes.
Essentials. What are those products? What makes them different from just selling, Choice POS 2 versus?
It's
some of
really
those other
going down
products?
the. How do I say this? It's really about focusing on member experience, right? And as we develop these relationships with our providers, the more in depth the relationship, then the more we have influence on the member experience outcome.
Okay.
So you have our broad network, and that's going to offer the most dense population of providers, right?
Yeah.
But then once you start to get into some of what we refer to as the locally based networks, you start from a standpoint as you're working with a provider or a collection of providers, you start kind of at a discount level, right?
Yeah.
So that's just scratching the surface. Can we get you a better rate so that on your 20% coinsurance, your 20% coinsurance at this local network is less out of your pocket than the same 20% coinsurance if you were in the broad network, even though it's the same hospital or provider, correct? So
Yeah.
once you move past discount, and that's sort of, if we're talking locally, that's like I-35 here locally. It's going to give you a discount against what you would experience with the broad network. Then we move into sort of the ACO piece where we start talking about accountable care organizations. That's where you start to delve into risk sharing with a provider or a group of providers. For our organization, we tend to market that as Aetna Whole Health. So that's our accountable care ACO platform.
Yep.
And then we really can take it next level with a joint venture. So you might take a large system like Alina in Michigan, for example, or Banner in Arizona, and we've developed joint ventures. Now you're talking about a level of integration in terms of that member experience. And what drives that is the opportunity for the provider system to really be central and more active in terms of population management. So at the end of the day, if you're in a Aetna Whole Health product with that provider who's driving to not only improve from a cost standpoint, but improve the member experience, you're going to wind up getting communications from the provider.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just as a consumer, we all know, just by virtue of the phone calls that you decide to take or not to take, right? You're going to be more responsive if you get a letter from the hospital system you're familiar with, the physicians' names that you're familiar with, saying, hey, we haven't seen you in a year. We'd like to, schedule some sort of annual checkup.
Yeah.
As a consumer, you'll be more responsive to that. Heck, you'll at least open it,
Right.
right? As opposed to a generic letter you might get just from Aetna,
Right.
saying, hey, we've noticed you haven't had a primary care visit.
Yeah.
And so that population management feature, once you move past sort of the general discount level, is really what makes that relationship, if you will, important. And that's what can have an influence on the members. So as you go down that spectrum and you're looking at the Aetna portfolio, you have your broad national plans in that portfolio. Then, depending on what state you're working in, what region your client is based in, you're going to have a series of options that'll range from a locally based network that might be as simple as a discount, might be a little more integrated in terms of a tiered plan. And then you start to go down the accountable care, Aetna Whole Health pathway. And then across the country, I think we have 5 joint ventures now, and we'll
Wow.
continue to work on more. So
That's exciting. I think we saw out of the ACA, we saw a lot of conversation around ACOs, and I think locally it's been a challenge in some areas.
in some areas, sure.
But I think that's an exciting piece from a managed care organization perspective, kind of moving down that path. And I mean, it almost feels HMO like. I mean, kind of down that path. I think somewhere in the contractual piece of that, I'm sure we're seeing that level of reimbursement and savings. And when you pair that with the data that employers get off of a level funded plan or a self-funded plan, you can start to see, well, maybe I don't need this broad national network.
Sure.
Maybe moving into this joint venture with a local hospital system, can be a better overall position for the employees, their dependents, and then for the company.
Well, and I think what makes that particularly feasible is the fact that we are always wrapped by a very dense national network.
Right.
So to the extent, 90% of your life is spent in your community, and you have a set of providers that you're familiar with there,
Yeah.
benefit from that. Take the benefit from that.
Yeah.
Then if you travel, you're elsewhere, you can always have a sense of security that you have a network available to you beyond just an emergency room.
Yeah.
That you can access if need be.
Yeah. I've always said that, if you really want to get down to savings, I think you've got to evaluate some of that data. I know at Aetna, we've got access to claims reporting inside that level funded platform for
Yes.
those groups.
Mhm.
And that can really help drive that conversation, particularly when it comes
Absolutely.
time to renewal and looking at the different plan options that are out there.
Absolutely.
So, and
Absolutely.
what we've seen is most of the plans have, I mean, you can find a plan design
Mhm.
that is Aetna, Aetna Choice POS2,
That's right.
and then the same kind of model in some of those other network options. It's just a matter of figuring out
Absolutely.
where your utilization is coming from.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so then I want to move on to, because we had some feedback from some of our consultants about Aetna's wellness program with the integration of,
Okay.
and this goes back to before the CVS
Sure,
integration.
sure,
This
sure.
was Attain and I know you mentioned you like the Apple Watch. I am an Apple Watch wearer myself.
Yeah.
So talk us through what does that integration look like from a wellness perspective, and then from just a member engagement?
Well, Attain is exciting for many reasons, but I don't want to belabor it or be too long-winded about it. But I think overall, in a nutshell, it really is about understanding that individual engagement is the most effective way to get someone to be consistent, is what we found. When you take a canned wellness program off the shelf and say, okay, here's this canned wellness program. If you meet the criteria, you get X, but if for those who don't meet it, there's just nothing else for them. The Attain took the approach of we're going to focus on the individual. And that's why we partnered with Apple, and that's why we had the Apple Watch has been our initial platform, is because we understood, along with Apple, that if we could target that individual, we could get a broader population of people engaged in even focusing on wellness because they're not trying to fit in a single box. So what might be active to a casual runner who runs 5-10 Ks a year but jogs, runs consistently, that's a different level of engagement than someone with whom we could just get them to move and stand and do a breathe app several times a day. But that engagement is important.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's advancing them from where they were.
Right.
And when you look at it from the standpoint of it's all relative, then when you then look at the collective outcome, it's all an improvement. So since we've had Attain now for 3-4 years, I think.
It's been a little bit. Yeah.
Now we have a lot of empirical data on engagement where we've been able to now say definitively we can save $10 PMPM per member per month with Attain engagement. That we have over 80% engagement rate. And then Attain has continued to develop to where if you're disengaged, we'll start sending you a little notice. We'll lower your goals to get you back. If the goals have gotten hard to reach and you've not reached them for 3 weeks, they'll be adjusted down to help you feel successful again, get you re-engaged. It's quite sophisticated and it's gone over quite well. The most exciting part of it is now as we roll into 2022, we are going to have the Android version.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Expand the audience.
So we're going to expand the audience by a factor, of 2, right? So we'll have the whole universe available to us now for people using wearables, if you will. Now, the Android version, sometime in the first quarter is when we think it will become available. But that's crazy exciting, is to now be able to talk to an entire population within an employer group and talk about Attain and not lose half the room as soon as you talk about, well, you got to have an Apple Watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that Apple's not been great partners. I don't want to come across that way, but it's been terrific platform upon which to build.
Yeah.
But it's also time. It's a great time now that we've got a solid footing with it and a very sophisticated development with Attain. It's time to expand.
That is exciting because I mean, as a consultant in those scenarios where where we've maybe been in a conversation with an employer group, when you realize you're talking on deaf ears to about half the room.
To about half the room when
Yeah,
you start
it's,
talking about Attain. Yeah.
you know which ones are wearing Apple.
Absolutely, because they perk up.
They're the
and
ones
they start looking at their watch.
How do I
Yeah.
do that? They're already out
Yeah.
on the App Store downloading it, and then all your Android users are going. So is it just Apple? Is it just
Yeah,
Apple?
exactly.
Which yeah, that's super exciting. I think it changes the dynamic of the Attain
That's right.
product itself.
Absolutely.
I like the way that you describe it. I mean, it feels like you guys are meeting the end user where they are instead of
Absolutely.
kind of setting the bar so high that
Yeah.
there are
Or
people,
just setting a bar.
yeah, just setting a bar.
Whether now
Yeah.
person A might see that bar as high, person B might go, man, I'm going to take advantage of this and I'll get $1,000 in wellness credit
Right.
a year easily because
Yeah.
it's stuff they were already doing.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're setting a bar
Yeah.
is problematic in many respects, and most canned wellness programs struggle to maintain 10 to 15% participation
Absolutely.
past 24 months. So the fact that we don't even set a bar, we literally meet each person where they are. They put in their own data,
Yeah.
they put in their own goals, and maybe 200 calories is the target for person A, but person B might have to meet 1,200 calories a day in order to get their daily rewards.
Yeah.
And it's all relative and it's all individualized. But that process keeps people engaged at a much higher rate than a canned system. Now, one thing I'll just mention, with the Apple version, there's the buy a device option. With the Android version, there won't be a buy a device option simply because the entry point for a Android wearable is as low as $100. Whereas, as we know, with the Apple ecosystem, the entry level point is still upwards of $300.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a primary difference. So with Android, you just bring your own device sort of thing. Now, the rewards you get are the same.
Sure.
The rewards you can earn are the same, and you'll have the same vendors to spend your points with and get gift cards and all of that. But just the buy the device feature
Yeah.
won't apply to Android devices.
Got it. So that's an exciting update on
Very
Attain.
exciting, yes, sir.
That's something we definitely want, and that's coming in 2022.
In 2022, we think sometime during the first
Okay.
quarter
So we'll just keep
is
an eye
what
out
our
for-
target date is. It could be as early as January. It could be as late as March 30th.
Okay.
But we feel confident in saying we'll have it rolled out sometime in that first quarter of 2022.
Good. So renewals as we head into that,
That's right.
in that time frame, we can kind of roll that out to those renewing cases, and then any new open enrollments we may be doing.
Absolutely.
Same kind of communication that, hey, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming in 2022. That's great.
That's right.
That's great.
Yep.
So then, so that's not part of the CVS integration.
No.
That's been around for a
Attain
few
was there,
years.
yes, exactly.
Really recently, over the last couple of years with the CVS integration, we've seen the integration of the walk-in clinics, the integration of the
That's right.
CVS
Health hubs.
the health hubs. Thank you,
Mhm.
the health hubs. Talk us through what that is, because I know here in our local market there are
Kansas City is a nice, robust
few,
market for the
yeah.
health hub. If I might, I want to just stay with wellness for
Sure,
two more quick points. One is our employee assistance program.
Okay.
And I know everybody throws around EAP. But very
Yours is
quickly,
different, yeah.
what makes ours unique is the subscriber and anyone in the subscriber's household is eligible
Yeah.
to access our EAP. And I think that's a standout benefit. And
Yeah.
it's been of particular note during COVID.
Yeah.
The second thing is how robust our PeerFit relationship has grown.
Yeah.
So PeerFit is an opportunity for subscribers only to earn, to basically not earn, to have credits that they can spend at a studio or another
Yeah.
workout place, but it's way more robust now, right? So PeerFit has expanded their platform to virtual.
Oh,
So you
I
can
think I
now
saw
use
this, yeah.
your credits
Yep.
to access a virtual session. And those credits, now you can't carry them over from month to month. So if
Yeah.
you don't use them, you lose them.
Yeah.
But you are granted enough credits that you can easily mix and match between an in-person IRL experience,
Yeah.
right, as well as virtual experience, and probably get some form of engagement at least once a week per month, and then your credit bucket refills the next month, and you apply those credits how you wish. So between Attain, the EAP, and PeerFit, I don't think there's any question about how robust the value added wellness benefit is for the Aetna Funding Advantage product.
Yeah.
I don't think that there shouldn't be any question.
No,
really,
you're
frankly.
right. I completely forgot about the PeerFit piece because at times it wasn't
In the
robust,
beginning,
right?
because PeerFit had to grow their footprint.
Sure.
Right? So
Yeah.
PeerFit needed to have independent studios have a willingness to say, hey, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
Well, COVID accelerated a whole
Yeah,
bunch
it
of
did.
things, and guess
Yeah.
what else it accelerated? These
Yeah.
private studios saying, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. And it's super easy to find one. If you don't,
And it's super easy to find one.
if
now.
it's not if it's again meeting members where they're at.
Yeah.
If it's not something they're doing today,
That's right.
they can, and it's something they want to start. They can really easy to find a location near them.
Absolutely. And
as
now
part of
that you can
PeerFit.
stream
Yeah.
and participate in something pre-recorded virtually, you have all manner of options.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a brick and mortar access tool anymore like it was when it was first introduced. So just like the AFA product itself,
Right.
PeerFit has grown and matured and become way more robust in terms of the access points and how a member, a subscriber, can use their monthly credits. There'd almost be no excuse at this point.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
You know, when you can stream and virtual and everything else, you put all those three together, you have no excuse not to use those credits.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing up the
Sure.
the PeerFit. I completely
No,
forgot
that's
about
okay.
that
That's
program.
not your job to
Yeah.
remember that. So that's why I'm here.
I have all these notes.
That's why I'm here. So
Yeah.
we can then move and pivot into CVS. So
Yeah.
with CVS Health, really it comes down to focusing on the member. And just as you put it with Attain, it's about meeting the member where they are. This is really the overarching approach and strategy of using the CVS footprint to deliver healthcare in the communities where people live and help to make that healthcare more accessible. So with CVS, the estimates are 75, potentially 80% of the US population lives within about 5 miles of a CVS location,
Yeah.
right? Using that footprint, that brick and mortar footprint, to encourage people to access these points of healthcare is a tremendous strategic vision. And what we're able to do then, because we're owned by CVS, is incorporate the assets of CVS into our Aetna Funding Advantage product. And we do that primarily in small group by offering what we call no cost, low cost access to minute clinic services. And I say it that way because if you're on a traditional plan, it's no cost, but we always have to account for the ADHP stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're on a high deductible health plan, there is a discount.
Yeah.
That discount is typically 25 to 30%, but it's not zero cost until you fulfill your deductible,
Got
as
it.
is standard on any HSA type plan. But we're continuing, even through COVID, CVS has continued to build out health hub locations. We're still on track, I believe, to have 1,500 by the end of 2021, with an eye to not only continue to build those physical health hub locations, but also to continue to expand the services available through those health hubs. Our most recent pilot is behavioral health access.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure it's posted on LinkedIn, but there was a great in-depth piece done by National Public Radio highlighting CVS's effort to bring behavioral health, mental health care into these communities, particularly where CVS stores are located, and make those things more accessible. One example, a person was interviewed suggesting that, hey, I used my medical plan, I called to try to make an appointment, it was 6 weeks out. And of course, that's exacerbated because of COVID,
Sure,
right?
sure.
We all need some mental
Yeah.
health assistance these days. It's been a tough 18 months, but they were able to walk into a CVS and get an appointment within just days
Yeah.
and be able to sit down and start that process. The most wonderful thing about it is, along with the EAP,
Yeah. I was just going to say.
the transition, if you're using EAP, if you're using a CVS Health location, the provider transition is virtually seamless, and that there'd be over 90% overlap. So
Yeah.
you're not going to have to, start here on Monday, go there on Tuesday, go to a different person on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell your story all over
And tell
again,
your
right?
story all over again.
Yeah.
So that seamlessness is beneficial. So, access to the Minute Clinic. One point I want to make clear: access to the Minute Clinic is it's those Minute Clinic clinical services when we talk about the no cost, low cost, right? And so every health hub has a Minute Clinic, but not every CVS Health location with a Minute Clinic is necessarily a health hub.
Yeah.
And so as a member walks in, the thing to focus on is, what are the Minute Clinic services provided?
Yeah.
You could go into a Minute Clinic that's not a health hub, and they might have, let's say, 15 services. But you could go into a Minute Clinic that is a health hub, and they might have 20.
Yeah.
So it's just simply a more expansive list, which is why you will not find, you can't go to a single source and say, what all does the Minute Clinic offer?
Yeah.
Because you have to go to that specific location. You can do that online and through
Sure.
the app,
Sure.
but you have to go to that location and say, what is offered at that location?
Right.
I think another great point to make is, yes, there are sections of America where CVS doesn't have a strong Minute Clinic presence, even though, say, Iowa would be an example where we have a strong CVS pharmacy presence, but that's vis-a-vis the Target locations.
Yeah.
Not a strong standalone CVS Minute Clinic presence. However, it's not that a consultant in those regions shouldn't be bringing up this benefit. People travel.
They do. They certainly do.
I can assure you, because I don't live far from the Shields soccer complex here locally, and the number of people that are coming in here from Texas, Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
I mean, it's madness.
Yeah.
And so to have that Minute Clinic access, and I know people, you can always go to emergency room, but urgent versus emergent, you take a lot of risks with that. Urgent care, CVS Minute Clinics are open when many of these places may not be.
Yeah.
And so even if you're in a geography and a consultant says, well, how is that relevant? we don't have a lot of CVSs here. It's still an important feature to discuss.
Sure, on a national basis for sure.
Absolutely.
And where we wouldn't have CVS Health minute clinics or a health hub, every plan design is offering benefits for virtual care.
That's right.
So
That's right.
It's a good 1-2 punch, I think,
That's
for
right.
for Aetna to have access to virtual care where we don't have access to a minute clinic, but then in your travels or wherever
Absolutely.
you may be.
Absolutely.
The
And
minute
now
clinic or the health
our
hub.
teledoc access is at zero. Our minute clinic e-visit goes along with that. So we're making those improvements to make our virtual care more accessible as well.
Yeah, that's and that so it is. Are you guys treating the teledoc? I mean, I know
We still have
The
the
CARES
partnership
Act
with
is kinda-
teledoc itself.
yeah.
And so it's the teledoc benefit that's at zero cost.
Yeah, and that again with the HSA plans.
Yeah,
there
the
may be
HSA,
some
there's always,
costs.
yes, there's always going to be some basic costs. I believe for starting January 2022, I believe it's $47.
That sounds about right.
But there's going to be a cost if you're on an HSA plan.
Yeah, I know there was sort of a temporary stay of disqualification under the
Sure.
HSAs during the CARES Act. That's all kind of expiring.
That's all expiring these
Yeah.
days, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so man, Darryl, you've been tremendous at filling in some of the blanks for me. I feel like there's maybe some other things that we talked about pre-show.
We can do another round, you just let me know.
Well, I do want to touch on
Yeah.
the admin fee credit.
Okay.
That AFA groups that new business.
New business, yes.
And that is there specific effective dates that go along with that promo?
No, right now, we've been doing it for many, many months. But no, it's $125 per subscriber. We usually try to apply that. The earliest typically is their second invoice. I think depending on, if you get enrolled sooner, but so many small groups wait till about the last 2 days before the effective date to
not in our office.
to pull the trigger and say, yeah, we're going to sell the case. But at any rate, we apply the admin credit until the full admin credit is exhausted. And then there's the guaranteed surplus on the back end of the contract year that's also available.
And that does have a size requirement on the guaranteed surplus?
Yes, yeah. So I believe it's 10 plus is 2,500. I think 50 to 100 is 7,500 or 10,000. There is a flyer on Producer World. I didn't come here with.
It's probably
all
on the
these
screen
specific-
right now.
It might be, yeah. That's right.
Watching
You're going backfill with all that. Yeah. So we do outline that. So I don't mean to sit here and
No,
not
we'll
be
have-
able to articulate that.
Yeah, and that's
point
that,
by
that-
point,
but that's
but-
not market specific. It is.
But
across the
that
board.
feature is not market specific. Exactly.
Great. So we've got, like I said, we've got agents
Yeah,
in
you-
14,
yeah.
15 different markets.
No, that feature is not market specific.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Anything we want to close out with? Anything we missed that we need to make sure brokers know as they head out to sell Aetna on their next case?
No, other than understanding that Aetna Funding Advantage is a premium product. It's a product I think consultants can be confident with. I think we have a very solid contract that undergirds our marketing and product offering, and I think it's important to understand that as you compare to what else is being made available.
I couldn't agree more. It's certainly an important part of our marketing effort with agents out there. So if you're looking at a case and you've got your Aetna proposals in front of you, be sure to reach out to our office. We'll help you put the puzzle together, find all the missing pieces that can help you be successful. We appreciate Darryl. We appreciate you being on our series.
Absolutely.
I hope you come back next time with another update. Until then, agents out in the market, we appreciate you tuning in. Good luck in the fourth quarter, and we'll see you next time.